So one of the best way to sign up for a meeting with Mrs. V is to email her directly. If you don't have her email, you can actually just email v@mychawanakee.org, and that'll go straight to her. And she basically holds office hours on almost a lot of all 5 days throughout the day, really, unless she's already scheduled for another meeting. So she could be pretty flexible with you guys. So one thing I want to get off started with is giving you the website. So this year, I think it's a good thing ongoing, but especially in our current status, we want to give you a website where you can go to with all things senior, with all the information that you need. So if you look here at the bit.ly URL here, that is your Minarets senior website. Right now, what you're going to find is some information on financial aid, information on four-year college and community colleges, which would include more trade school based too. And you're also going to see things about the SLE and senior advancement, some things we're going to go over tonight. But also senior pictures, yearbook, things that we're going to touch on. You can go to this website, and we're going to continue to enhance, increase what we provide on this website so that you have a one-stop shop. If you have a quick question, maybe it's already there before reaching out to us. It's fine either way, but that's where you're going to go if you want some information for your senior. So just wanted to touch on big picture with everybody as it is right now. So obviously, because of COVID-19, we are in distance learning. I don't think any of us would have imagined when we first shut down in March that we would still be here at this point, but wanted to just touch on a few things big picture wise. The first thing is, of course, we are disappointed that we're not able to do face-to-face instruction. This is a huge challenge. Senior year, we invest a lot. We invest a lot of time. We invest a lot of resources and funds to making sure our seniors have a great final year of their public education. It's definitely taken on a new twist. I want you to know, from my perspective as principal and our team's perspective, that we will do everything and anything we can to give your students the best experience possible. And what I mean by that is if and when opportunities come up to where your students can have in-person activities, celebrations, interactions, education, things like that, we're going to move forward on that. So we have done a lot of planning in place for when we do have those opportunities. And we want to assure you that there's nothing that we're holding back as far as what we can do for seniors. Whatever is allowed to us by our state and our county health and our district, we're going to do. So I've already kind of started meeting with some parents just for feedback. I'm going to continue to do that, and some of you may be participating in that. If at any time you want to be part of that, or you want to be a part of a panel of parents to give feedback, just reach out to me and I'll include you. I've talked to some of those parents about events that we can do both at the school and as a school, as well as events or activities that parents can endorse. So for example, something that parents are kind of running with right now is the Madera Drive-In movie night experience. There's some things that we as a school can endorse and support and provide. There's some things that parent groups can better do. So working with parents on that. But when it comes to things like, winter formal, when it comes to things like prom, grad night, sober grad, graduation, those things are all in flux, but we have plan A, plan B, plan C. Our hope is that as we move along month to month, our ability to do things increases. We have some better facilities to maybe facilitate some spring celebrations. We have our stadium, which is completely ready, fully loaded with permanent lighting, and the stands are finished and everything like that. So we have some ideas to move forward on things like graduation and things like that as time goes along. I know for some of you, you may feel like that's a long way out, but for me as principal and our team, and we plan these things way ahead of time. So I guess the thing is, I'm going to keep you in communication as we get information. And if we are able to pull off some of these things, we'll let you guys know. Some of the ideas that have come up, you know, like for instance, this fall, we don't have our traditional homecoming going on, which would traditionally happen this month. One of the ideas that has come out is offering something like a Friday Night Lights, where we have seniors come out and you know, provide for social distancing and things like that, but give them some swag, some Minarets gear, some senior gear, and do a little bit of a celebration while making sure that there's space and safety in place. We got a lot of ideas like that, and we're going to continue to do that, and we would love your feedback. So expect some of those invitations, expect a survey to come out to you shortly, but we just want you guys to know that we love our seniors. It kills us that we're not able to do this how we normally do, but hopefully, as you've experienced with us in the past, we are creative. We do love our kids, and we're going to make special things happen for them. So anyways, we'll keep you posted, and that'll be regular and often. Two big senior requirements each year are the senior legacy experience and the senior advancement process. Okay, so to touch on the senior advancement process, this is a process that was initiated a couple years ago. And the idea behind this is it's a culminating presentation and portfolio for all seniors. It's almost like if you're in graduate school, you're defending your thesis, you're defending your work, and really it's just an overall picture of what kids have learned and where they're headed. It's kind of like a celebration presentation. The kids always feel good, lots of tears and laughter in these presentations. This year, our plan is actually to scale that down a bit and actually eliminate the portfolio aspect of it, but we're still going to have our students do a final presentation. We're not going to touch on that until we actually have face-to-face instruction. When we start having face-to-face instruction, really the presentation part of it, there's not a whole ton of prep time, just a little bit more reflective time. And those presentations won't take place till April. But just wanted to give you an idea of that senior requirement. The senior legacy experience definitely in these times is a little more challenging than in person. And one of the things that we said in our tutorial video that we sent out initially was this idea that under the circumstances, we have to look at things that we can do within our current context. Can we do things online? Are we already doing some things, maybe work-based or community-based, that we're working on that we can do? Are there things like writing, filmmaking, welding, things like that that we can incorporate into a senior legacy experience? One of the things we say every year is it doesn't have to be event-based, and certainly that is true this year. It's going to be really difficult to be an event-based thing. But anyways, we want to push forward with the senior legacy. Last year we didn't do the final piece, the third part. We feel really strongly that we want our kids to be able to demonstrate just that final capstone, like we did it. This is a product that I'm putting out that demonstrates that, hey, I learned all these skills. And we understand that are some difficulties and some nuances that are definitely different this year, and we're going to work around that. No, the intent of this, either of these for that matter, is not to slam kids or make them feel like, you know, they're falling behind or they're not going to make it. It's actually the opposite. The idea behind these is we want our kids to be proud. We want to be proud of them, and we want them to show that pride and all that they've learned and mastered. So that's kind of the overall. With that being said, we did a proposal tutorial video, and we have a sample website that has been sent out to the kids. We did that before the creek fire and our campus shut down and all the evacuations. So we pulled that due date back, but we are putting it back in as October 16th. I am going to send out reminders and just a follow-up video before week's end to the seniors again. And the idea is that they're going to upload a proposal video. And we've gone over the steps and provided an example, but I'll reinforce that. That's due October 16th. And what the proposal video basically is we're going to kind of give them a thumbs up, thumb to the side, or thumbs down. So each kid that submits one, if it's a thumbs up, we're going to say, you're good to go. You could start moving forward. If it's a thumb to the side, we're going to say, hey, let's meet again. We'll actually meet virtually, and we'll talk about things you can change. And if it's a thumbs down, we're going to redirect them. That's the whole idea of the proposal. From there, they'll write a plan, which I have a template, and it details all the things that they're wanting to accomplish. It makes them have a timeline, all the specifics. And that is a written plan. It's about a 2 to 3 page document. That's due November 6th. And then the students actually to do their final video, which is their presentation, kind of their portfolio, their proof that they actually did the project, is submitted in on May 14th. So some SLEs might be happening right now. They might be close to being finished. Some might not be till the spring. Nevertheless, May 14th is the day because that's the final week of senior work. And so that's kind of their final piece. We know by that point, the reason why we have these three levels is if the students do the first two successfully, they'll be ready for that final. We'll make sure they're ready. Like I said, it's not a gotcha. So the SLE is really focused on the culminating experience, the project itself. And SAP is simply kind of your swan song. We have a template for the presentation. They're basically saying, this is what I learned. This is who I want to thank. This is what I want to do with my life. This is my top memory. So they are two really distinct things. One is just a final presentation, and one is focused on your culminating project that you want to do. So to give you some details on the SLE, I don't know if any of you watched the video that we sent out to your students, but Claudia, if you could go forward on this slide here. Okay, so here's an example of what my proposal was, just kind of a mock proposal. So my SLE, this would be in video form here, but there's basically, I think, 5 elements here. So my SLE is bringing school spirit to another level, to a higher level. That's my whole SLE, making sure our school spirit is at an all-time high and leaving it higher than when I first got there. So part of this is my description. So each student will have to have a description. For me, I'm really specific here. I want to increase participation. Obviously, I made this SLE when we were in person, but the idea is we increase participation in dress-up days and dances and rallies. I want to start two traditions on campus, a tailgate and a barbecue. I want to establish a new student section. You know, take a piece of the stadium and really jazz up a student section. And I want to raise funds to buy a new horse mascot. So that's kind of a description. That's my overall view. So a student will provide what their overall vision for their SLE is, what they want to accomplish. Next, they will talk about date, location, tools, etc. Again, there doesn't necessarily have to be a location of an SLE. We've had kids, like I said, write books. We've had kids, had a kid that did a full-length feature film, actually. We've had kids that wrote blogs, lots of different things, welding, machine work, lots of things like that. So it doesn't have to be a location, or it doesn't have to be a specific date, but we want to know time frames. When is this going to happen? What are you going to need during that time? What are you going to use? Kind of the nuts and bolts of the SLE. So that's the second part of the video. The third element is, how does it connect to your passion? Because each student should be doing an SLE that connects with them. So if they're doing something related to, say they wanted to do something with Boys and Girls Club because they grew up with, you know, experience in Boys and Girls Club and it had a big impact on them. Or say it had something to do with Course Gold Rodeo and riding horses, equestrian. We want them to describe why their project relates to their passion. Some examples of how it wouldn't in the past, you know, we've had kids kind of throw things together, like we're going to do a big sale and we're going to give the money to, you know, like they just pick a random charity. So the idea is that they pick a charity or they pick a movement or pick an activity that has mattered a lot to them. So we want them to connect it to their passion. Next, we want to know how they will accomplish the goal or what they will need. What are the things that are essential for them to completing that? Are there technology resources? Is there some sort of organization that you have to work with? Do you need the use of facilities? What kind of skills will you need? And what kind and measurable goals? The next thing is your mentors. We used to have it where they had to have a teacher. That's not so much true anymore. There doesn't, and perhaps especially now, we just want them to have some adult mentors that maybe work in the field that they're doing this in, or have a high influence on them, or have access to resources. We want our students to be communicating with adults and professionals to accomplish this. So who are those mentors? And it could be mom and dad. We always encourage to kind of try to reach out of that scope, to branch out and interact with others, but who are your mentors? And how will you measure your success? This is the kind of the way that makes it really, you're assessing your, how, if you were effective. So in the beginning, we said, what do you want to accomplish? We want them to measure their success. So their success could be measured in how much money they raised, if it was a fundraiser. Their success could be that they increased participation in what they were trying to accomplish. Their success could be measured in if they published a book through Amazon or Apple. Their success could be how many people purchased that book. What are some measurable outcomes where they can determine whether they were successful or not? And, you know, we expect students to fail, but we also want them to recognize that and learn from it too. So what are their ways to measure their SLE? So it's, the idea is that it's a culminating project. It's bigger than anything they've done before. So this is going to be challenging because we are in distance learning. So that's definitely going to be considered and put into consideration. And we understand that and we're empathetic with kids. So we'll try to get as good as we can with what we're given at this point. Promotion and collaboration, students reaching out, talking about it over social media, email, through word of mouth, things like that. And there is an online presence that's part of the video at the very end, where we have students, we want them to have a Google site or something on social media or some way to access it to the public world. That's a big part of project-based learning, is demonstrating, putting it out there. And this really is a reflection on what you're interested in, as well as what have you really focused on in learning? Have you spent it mostly in ag mechanics, or has it been in you know, writing? Has it been in theater? Or have you been really involved in your church, or have you been really involved in a nonprofit organization? How are those two combined? We will be sending this slideshow, if you guys didn't catch that. I have a video that goes over the SLE2 that I sent to the students, and we'll send this presentation and recording to you folks. So, like I said, this is the culminating experience. We want them to do something that matters and that sticks. And the reason why we call it experience is because we want it to be long lasting, and we want them to think big picture in mind. We went away from the project idea because project is so focused on kind of a one and done, like there, I did it, I'm done. We want it to be an experience in that it has a lasting legacy and it matters to them moving forward. It'll play a critical role in their next step in life. Go ahead, Ms. B. Okay, so we kind of already went over this, but we basically just, our idea behind these three different turn-in dates is that kids don't fall behind. Like I said, this is not a monotonous kind of like arbitrary thing we put out there to see if kids pass or fail. This is really us encouraging them and helping them demonstrate their learning and feel good about it. So when we say yay or nay, it's not like, oh, you get an F or you get a, when kids submit a proposal, as long as it meets the criteria, they get full points. It's not about that. It's about, is this a tangible, good idea or not? And we'll have kids determine, what they need. These are really essential skills in life for kids to understand, okay, what's needed? How do I measure it? How do I get to the finish line? How do I reach my goals? How do I set goals? So we want advisors, as many adults as possible that can be positive influences. We want them to work with our students. These are some of the myths that we often hear. SLEs don't have to raise money by any means. Your SLE can, I mean, technically it could just, it could be in the red. You could lose money, but that's not the idea. But it can raise money. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to go to charity. In the first few years, we had a lot of students that the idea was that they were going to raise a bunch of money and give it to charity. It can be that, but our bigger concern is how are you connected to that charity and what long-lasting impact on yourself and the community does that have? Flyers, hanging flyers in the community or around town. This day and age is not as effective as maybe it once was, or we'd like to believe. The other one is, if I don't do one, I'll just have to pick up trash. That's not true. This is a graduation ceremony requirement. We make sure all of our kids get to the finish line, and I really do mean that. Ms. V and I can attest that we have spent many hours making sure kids get their SLEs accomplished to make sure they're in that purple and gold at graduation. It's not always easy, but we're not just going to say, go pick up trash and you're done. So anything having to do with money, if it has to go through the Minarets Foundation or Minarets ASB, or if it's 4-H or FFA related, it could go through Spring Valley Ag Boosters. The big thing is we don't want, not only do we not want, but it's not legal for us to condone, support, or direct students to handle money and then give it straight to an organization. There are instances outside of those three groups that I just mentioned that are tied to Minarets, where maybe the organization is actually responsible for collecting the money at the event and it's a hands-off operation. That's fine, but what we don't want is students to be handling money, keeping money, and then giving it to an organization. So there's a lot of laws against fraud in California through our ASB and just through Ed Code. So that's really critical that our students do it through the proper channels. If your student needs a meeting with myself or Autumn, they can do that, or if through the foundation, Rhonda Carripo, Jackie Lowe. There's actually a lot of other board members too, but those are good points of contact. So make sure your student isn't handling money just kind of off the cuff. Okay, go ahead. I think we touched on that one. And just to kind of circle back, you can go to the next slide, Ms. V. Senior advancement process, we're really just telling you guys about it. I think most of our seniors know about it because they've seen the other seniors go through it. It's really cool. It's kind of like an exit interview, and it's I love being a part of it. They bring their resume, they bring some hard copies of some project samples, they have a cover letter, and it's actually a really special experience. They're dressed nice, and it's like in that moment in April, I mean, they really only have a few weeks left of core instruction, and it's just kind of our opportunity to engage with them and a moment for them to feel like, like I'm an adult, I'm a professional, I'm moving on, and I'm proud of it. It really is run in a interview type format, so it's a great experience for students. It's just kind of icing on the cake. But having said all that, we don't want anybody to stress over that right now. We will walk them through that whenever we get back in person into instruction, or whatever we're able to do come April. Just a couple other things. I know that some may be tired of hearing my voice and eager to hear Mrs. V's voice, but Yearbook cost. Okay, so this is pretty fresh here. The beginning cost for the month of November is $90, and that increases by $20 come the end of the school year. So it's important that you do that early. I assume everyone wants a yearbook for their senior. Not everyone, I guess, but usually that's one of the first questions we get. There will definitely be a yearbook if there's any question about that. If you want to run an ad is not just like, support my business. An ad, you can run a full page dedication to your student with, a collage of pictures that are important to them, just kind of a special thing. You could do that by surprise. You could do that with their full knowledge. But these are the different price points for that. If you want a full page in the yearbook, 300, 175, 100, 160. If you're wondering, obviously there's a cost for printing all these yearbooks that we have to cover, and any additional cost goes to our media department. So, but in general, our costs are very comparable to what you're going to see at other schools, and it's okay. So the sooner you buy, the better, and that's done through jostens.com, and you just put in our school name. Okay, so senior yearbook pictures, we went over this in senior drive-through breakfast, but we want 3 senior pictures. Here's where you would submit that to, bit.ly/Minarets seniors. This is due by December 4th. 3 pictures for seniors. I think the next slide says something about the requirements of the pictures. Okay, so for the senior pictures, believe me, this is like something that comes up a lot. Almost all of our pictures are done tastefully, and things like that. But sometimes stuff slips through the cracks, and like to a parent's like, that looks great, but then technically it could be breaking our dress code. Just look, if you could look at that parent student handbook, just to verify with dress code, all pictures need to be submitted. Oh, I'm sorry about that video. Okay, it looks like we're coming through choppy here. Anyways, sorry. So those 3 pictures need to be in dress code. But other than that, you find the senior picture photographer and you submit how you wish to us. And those are going to be the pictures. It's kind of cool. It's really customized. It's not the classic, just, shoulders and the head. Everybody looks the same photo. It's really customized to what you want. So if it's in a special place, special location, it makes it pretty cool for our seniors. So that's for senior pictures in yearbook. At this time, I am going to pass it off to Claudia. Claudia's going to get into more of the graduation gear stuff and financial aid, colleges, things like that. I apologize for the video. We'll try to, if anybody else is having issues, you can go ahead and try to let us know, and we'll try to make up for it if we're too choppy. But without further ado, I am going to pass it off to Mrs. B.
Okay, my turn. Hey, everybody. And just to tag on that video, we will be posting this afterwards as well. So if we're having internet difficulties, you will have a clearer version up on the web. So first thing I want to talk about is cap and gown and graduation product ordering. I've seen a lot of questions about this on Facebook already, which is great. So this year, given our situation, everything is going to be done virtually. The website for graduate services is here. You can also call them if you like. They will be mailing packets home directly to you, so you can have, they're really nice colored packets and stuff that you can see everything, the different ring options as well. They do have a special where if you order a ring, then you get the cap, gown, and tassel, which are like the basic, graduation products for free. So go ahead and check out their website if you haven't done that already, and you should be able to get all the information you need from them and call them directly. We don't really have much more to do with it except for passing their information on. So you really want to go to them if you have any questions like that. So cap and gown, it's time to start ordering already. Amazing. So before I go in, I'm going to start throwing around a lot of dates at you. I just wanted to show you, I've set up a calendar, and this is on the homepage of that senior website that Dr. Ching talked about. So these dates for both college information, this is for the four-year colleges and community colleges, all these dates are in one place. And then there's also a separate one here for the different senior dates, yearbook, SLE, financial aid. So all of that, again, you don't have to try to write all of this stuff down. You'll be able to find it on the website. If you have not signed up for the Senior Remind, I've been pushing it out to the students, so because hopefully this will be a way for them to remember deadlines. But if you think it'd be helpful for you to be signed up there with them as well, you're welcome to do that. You send a text to 81010 with this in the body admin 2021. And so I usually try to blast out, we're blasting out information in a few different ways. One is through these direct texts for parents via Parent Square and email. So I've sent out a couple senior updates. If you have not been getting those either via Parent Square or email, go ahead and email me. Again, it's just v@mitwanaki.org, and let me know if you're not getting anything so that we can troubleshoot that. So we've been sending text and emails out, and also voicemail, just letting you know to check your email. So we're hoping to try to keep that regular to keep all of you updated. So I'm going to just go into some of the different pieces around college. First thing I want to do is just blast out about this website, californiacolleges.edu. There is a link on our senior site. It's a great place to be able to research a lot of different schools all over the country, not just California, from four-year colleges all the way also to certificate programs, vocational programs at the community colleges. So I would recommend, they also even have like other vocational schools as well. So if your students in a place are still trying to figure out what schools they might want to look at, it's a good starting point here. So we're going to start with the community colleges, the local State Center Community College District, and their application process.
Claudia, sorry,
yeah.
that grad services link, apparently we had a typo. It should be, sorry, could you go back to it? Or is it,
Yeah, sorry, that's funny because that flyer actually came from them.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Grad Services Ltd.
Services.
Oh, yeah, I see it. It should be Ltd. Yes. If you want to type that into the Q&A, it's gradservicesltd.com.
Okay. Yeah, I will.
Good catch, whoever did that. I will definitely let them know because I just. It
was Matt. Good job, Matt.
Good job, Matt. I plopped their flyer right in here. So, okay, great. Where are we? So let's see, community college. They have a 4-step process, which is the online application and then an online orientation, and they will do in the spring an advising session. And then the last step is class registration. So to be able to do step 4, you have to have completed all the other 3 in a timely fashion. And one of the benefits is they come through and they guide all our students through this. So as long as your student is following those remind messages, showing up to where they need to be to complete these different steps, I mean, it'll be all virtually this year. They'll be all set to be able to register for classes through the community college. And in general, we want most students to do this at least as a backup. A lot of people know that they want to try to apply straight to 4-year, but they also will often apply to community college because down the road financially, they might decide that's the best route to go. And so if they have it all taken care of from the beginning, they're not scrambling to do these steps come April or May, and then they don't get priority registration. So that's one group. And then the other group is the ones that are, I don't think I'm going to go to college. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not sure. We really try to encourage them to get the applications done for the same reason. They've now gone through all the steps and they're able to move forward with priority registration in April. So online application, we have several different virtual workshops scheduled. We have an early bird one next Monday morning, and then we have 2 broken out by alphabet so that they're not flooded with so many students at once. And this, when I talk about local community college, these are the different campuses. So it's Reedley, Madera, Fresno, Oakhurst, and Clovis. They're all one college district, you would say. So those workshops will be coming up, application workshops. This next step is the online orientation, which opens on December 1st. So we have a little time for that, but we want to make sure they get their applications done before that so that then they can do the online orientation as soon as possible when it opens. And we'll be doing a workshop for that orientation as well in early December. They use the online orientation to decide what time and date the students get for registration. So registration is over like a 4-day period. And the earlier you do your orientation, the earlier opportunity you have to register for classes, which means you're going to get more choice about the timing of classes and your schedule. We really encourage students to get that orientation done as soon as possible. 3 is and 4 is the advising and then registration. So the advising sessions will be in the spring, sometime in probably early April. I don't have the exact date yet from them, but it is mandatory that they go through this advising session so that they can register for classes in late April. That step 3 is advising, and then they will get their registration date for April. If they miss these advising sessions, then they're going to have to do late registration in May. So it's very important that they make it to this step, and then they can do step 4. So a couple of different programs that the community colleges have that I just want to point out is this top one here, this associate's degree for a transfer, is an agreement they have with the California State Universities. So if your student goes into the community college, they want to major in criminology. First semester at community college, they're going to want to set up a meeting with a counselor and set up their transfer plan if they know that they want to move on to a 4-year college. And with that transfer plan, they're guaranteed entrance into the CSU system as long as they meet those requirements. It might not be at the campus necessarily they want. They'll usually give them a few choices if their first choice isn't available, but they'll be guaranteed a spot within that similar major. So criminology to criminology, like that. And then the other route with the University of California, they have what's called the TAG program, where they're not necessarily in all honors classes, but it is really like an honors program at the community college, where if you keep a minimum GPA of, I believe it's a 3.5, and you can, again, set up like a TAG transfer plan is what they call it. And then once you finish your 2 years at the community college, you can then tag into a specific UC campus as long as you've met the requirements. So good options to be looking at and talking to the college counselor once they start school next fall. I mean, so fast, oh my gosh. So now let's go a little bit into the state universities, the California state system and the University of California. Here are the application deadlines for the CSU. The application is now open. It opened last Thursday, October 1st. And their deadline is December 4th. They've luckily pushed it out this year since Thanksgiving falls at the end of November. So we have an extra week to get this done. And we will be doing 2 application workshops, both October 12th and November 10th. And one of the nice things about the CSU, and this is also true for University of California, is you do one application, and then that application is, you can then select which campuses you want to send it to. So they don't have to start over every time. And there is also a fee waiver built into the application. So if you meet their income requirements, which are pretty similar to the free and reduced lunch guidelines that we use at the K-12 level, then you're able to, they'll waive the fee and you can different campuses if you qualify for their fee waiver. So you can apply to 4 for free. And so those are the dates for the application workshops. The University of California, their window to actually apply is November, the month of November. You can actually go in now and start working on the application. The website is open, the application's there to start working on. It just can't be submitted until November 1st. And we'll also be doing a virtual application workshop in a couple weeks as well with our UC Merced representative. So that's another one to look forward to. But I definitely would encourage students, if they haven't started this yet, if they're going to apply to University of California, to start looking at the application I've put a link in on the senior website that shows kind of all their detailed site about what's in the application, how to work on their personal insight questions, and just all the different pieces that are required. It's more of a complicated application than the CSU. And I just want to point out this program. There's a program this is across all of the state schools, CSUs and University of California. It's called the Educational Opportunity Program. So if your student meets any of these requirements where the family qualifies as low income, the parents didn't go to college, so this is a first generation college student, and they demonstrate potential for success, they have high grades, and they're applying for the first time, this program, it can be really supportive for them. They give them extra priority counseling, priority registration, mentorship. In some cases, there's some money involved where they might help pay for books like that. And then they have like group support for the students in the program. This is built into the online application, but I just want to flag it for you to see that if you think your student qualifies for this, we really want to make sure that they apply for this program, the Educational Opportunity Program, EOP. The common application for those students that are looking at applying to private schools, and then there's some also out-of-state colleges, state colleges, public colleges that might use this. This is similar idea where you do one application and then it can get sent out to a variety of colleges. So a student doesn't have to do 10 separate applications if they're applying to like 10 different private schools. So this is a really good tool. It's similar to the University of California one where there's separate essays they have to do. So if they're looking at applying to a private school, I would suggest getting on that website and really researching what the application is, what the essay prompts are, like that. So we're going to talk a little bit about testing. Things are very different this year, as they are in so many other ways. Basically, we're not doing any testing on the campus, obviously, with school being closed, and all the local testing sites, Fresno, Clovis, my understanding is that they have all closed at least through October. So the California universities, both the CSUs and the University of California, are not using these tests as part of their admission process. So they're not requiring them at all. And most private colleges and universities also, from what I've seen, have declared that they are test optional. So some of them might take them. Like if we have a student who is going to apply to a private university, they have an SAT or an ACT score, in some cases, they can't be used as part of the decision process if they have it, but everywhere I've seen the very clear statement that it's not going to be required, and if you do not have it, it will not impact the decision-making process. So that's what we have. The state schools, it's really clear across not just in California, but in other states as well. I've put the websites here so that you can go in and look at possible dates in November, December. I know I've talked to some students that still feel they think it's important. I can only go by what the schools are saying, is that they are saying it's test optional and they're not going to use it for admission purposes. And I don't know what'll happen in November, December, if there might be opening, if test site locations might open in the region or not. I think it's not very likely, and it could be very difficult to get in, which is why the universities are, they've shifted their policy this year.
Yeah, so I'm getting some questions over here. Seems like California is not doing SAT. Yeah, that's
definite.
That's what our information is. So as far as practicing writing personal statements, it's certainly something that I could talk to Mr. Land and Mrs. McCoy about maybe spending some time doing that. We do go over that in terms of prepping for the SAP, because they do have to write personal statements and cover letters for that. Having said that, this year it's going to be a little later than the college application deadline. So I'll put in a plug with our teachers to just check in and see if they want to do some practice with some personal statements. Not a bad idea.
And the students that are in Mrs. McCoy's class, so those are the students that had signed up for the English 1A college class, they are actually doing that as one of their assignments right now. So if your student is in that, it's not the AP class, it's the English 1A prep class.
Right.
They're working on the personal insight questions for the UC and also just personal statements or essays such as they have on the common application. So that's in process with one of our classes for sure.
Ms. V, I see one comment here that for certain scholarships, out of the test optional declaration for certain scholarships, it seems as though they are still asking for that information. Have you found that to be true as well, or have you heard that?
I think it's going to depend on the scholarship. From what I've seen, often what they'll do is they'll ask for whatever a student has to give. Here's the criteria, and they'll ask for whatever the student has to give. Given the situation, I think there's also the understanding that if they can't do it, then that's not going to be one of the criteria that they use. So what we recommend would be in the essay or if you're doing a scholarship application, what I'd recommend is that making a statement that, in the current situation where you live, there isn't an opportunity to take testing. There hasn't test centers closed before the normal senior test dates in March. And as of now, they're still currently closed. It wouldn't hurt to include that information, I think, in your essay if you're doing a scholarship where they're asking for that information. Yeah, I know it's a tricky one. Things just changed really fast around this. It's tricky. I did put up here Khan Academy because they have a great practice testing site that they have synced with College Board on. So if your student is still looking at that, I know I've talked to a couple people about possible November, December dates, then this is available. Most of them should have already gotten this information. And if they do go to apply, there is fee waivers for both of these tests. And this is based on the free and reduced lunch guidelines. So you can just reach out to me if you do think they're going to try to apply for the test. Okay, let's talk a little bit about money. The FAFSA, which is the Federal Application for Free Student Aid. This window also opened last Thursday, October 1st. So we have extra time now. In the past, these didn't used to open until January, but now they give us some extra time to get this done. The Cal Grant, which is the California state grants, their deadline for this is March 2nd. So we want to make sure that students have this done by March 2nd. The earlier, the better, because they often, not that the money runs out, but that they will prioritize in some cases. Some colleges will prioritize based on when this information comes in. So we're making sure it happens this fall. There's both federal and California grant money that is tied to this application. And at the same time, a lot of colleges will use this as a basis to make decisions on scholarships from their organization as well. And one thing, if you don't know, this is very important, that even if you don't meet low income requirements, California Community College is free for all students as long as you complete the FAFSA. So if you think your student might be going to college, community college, like I said, we might have that as a backup, depending on what financial aid is available to them, then I highly recommend getting the FAFSA done so that if you go community college route, they'll be all set because it'll be free. So we're going to have a few for the FAFSA. The first is with Clovis Community College. That's set up for October 22nd in the evening. Simple timing is this. So they'll do a presentation and then they're going to have breakout rooms to be able to help individual families. And this is the financial aid expert. So if you can come to this would be great. So this is one option. And I have the Zoom link here, but I'll also be blasting that out to people. And then also Fresno State has several FAFSA workshops that they'll be providing starting next week. So these are more in the afternoon, might be a little more difficult for parents, but I will send out the Zoom link as well for this. And these start, like I said, next week. Goes through Fresno State. Talking about scholarships, one thing that I often hear from people about completing the FAFSA is they know they're not low income, they know they're not going to qualify for much. The state Cal Grant program, as of a couple years ago, they started this middle class scholarship. And so that's a sliding scale based on income. So it might not be a lot based on your family income, but it might, even like $500 is going to help cover books for a semester. So even if you think you might not get anything, your student's not going to community college, I would still highly recommend doing the FAFSA, because you never know. And like I said, the colleges themselves will often use this for input.
Just got a question about transcripts. So on our website, I just posted the link, but on our website, there is a transcript request. If you look on the college planning link, you just submit that, and usually it takes us about, I don't know, like a week to turn it around at the most. But we put our official stamp on it and everything like that. So I use that. That's the quickest way to do it.
So that's a great point. Thank you. There's a difference between an unofficial transcript and an official transcript. So for some scholarships, they might ask for an official transcript that you would need to go through that whole official process because we have to stamp and seal it. For a lot of them, all they need is a printed signed copy. And so if that's all you need, you can reach out to me or to our registrar and we can email that to you. It doesn't have to be officially sealed. Most of the universities, we can submit the transcript to them electronically directly. So it's less work for you, that's less work for the registrar. And when you're doing the application, if they can do that, they'll have the option there where you can put an email address in, and that you put my email address in and I'll get that information. But for some scholarships, you will have to do, like I said, a hard copy official transcript as well.
And just as a point of reference too, is our secretary that does deal with transcripts and stuff like that is typically Susanna Herrera. So you'll be working with her on that.
I want to point this out, this Western Undergraduate Exchange. A lot of people don't know about this. As I'm talking to students, there's a lot of students that are thinking about maybe going out of state, but staying somewhere in the West. And so this program is a reduced tuition program at public schools. And there's both four-year colleges and community colleges throughout the West that if you qualify for this program, you can get reduced tuition. It's not as cheap as in-state tuition, but it's definitely much less than the out-of-state cost, which is usually pretty expensive. The deadlines to apply are often earlier than the regular deadline. So if you're thinking at all Washington or Arizona, I think even Texas might go as far out as Texas, definitely Colorado, I would check out this website. I have this link on the scholarship page of that senior website we showed you as well, so you don't have to write it all down, but definitely recommend this one. We've had students use this effectively in the past. I'm going to put up Fresno State here as an example of a college level scholarship program. So every college, whether it's community college or a four-year college, private or public, will have their own scholarship page, and there's usually a large pool of scholarships available. So Fresno State, for example, has over 200 scholarships available at their site, and a lot of things just don't go unused because people aren't applying. So a few examples here. The Smith Camp Honors College is their honors program scholarship. It's definitely very elite. It is hard to get. I'm not going to say it's not, but we haven't had a couple students get that. If your student has above a 3.8, and I can't remember the other requirements. One is on test scores, one is on GPA, I think the other's on class ranking. So I would definitely recommend that they apply for that. It is a full tuition and some support for room and board as well. If your student is at all thinking about going into engineering, the Lyles College of Engineering also has a full ride for tuition honors scholarship. We've had several students get that one as well. And Fresno State has a great engineering program. They provide a lot of support, a lot of mentoring, a lot of internships as well. And then their general scholarship application, well, like I said, is used for over 200 scholarships, is March 2nd. So once you have an idea of what schools you're looking at, you'll want to also go to that school scholarship page to see. Even the local community colleges, they all have scholarship applications as well.
And I did want to put in a plug just because I feel like I should, because my wife was one of these in college. Once they get to college, I mean, even after the first semester, first year, always encourage your child to continue to apply for scholarships, because there's a lot of cases where full rides are offered starting sophomore year or junior year. They may become eligible. So never give up on trying to get some of that free money.
Yeah, definitely. And every year, you know, their grades might get better in college. They might have access to more there as well. Let's see. So the University of California system, they have what's called the Blue and Gold program, which is based on financial need. So if your student gets accepted into the UC, and if the family income is under 80, it's 80 something thousand, then they'll get free tuition at that school. And as long as they get in, they'll meet that tuition cost for you. And they'll also, I think, will cover, with the Cal Grant, will also cover some of room and board, not all, but some of it. And similar to this, a lot of the private schools also have this option. So for example, like Stanford, if your family is under 60,000, it's free tuition and room and board. It's a complete free ride. If your family is under, I think it's either 120 or 130,000, then it's free tuition. So a lot of this, even those private schools that we think, oh, they're out of reach, if your student gets in, there's often a lot of financial support. So right now, my suggestion is, go ahead and apply, and you apply at different levels if you're looking at four-year colleges, and then you make the final decision later, right? We're just getting all the options on the table at this point. Another area to be looking for scholarships is through these scholarship search engines. There's millions of dollars available, and often there's millions of dollars that go unclaimed because people aren't applying. So I've put a few sites here. Again, this is on our website, on the senior website. I've put links to specific sites. I just said that. Okay, and then if you haven't experienced this yet, the Minarets Senior Scholarship Awards is our local award ceremony, our local community ceremony, where we have community organizations, some of you may be involved in those organizations, that raise funds to give scholarships out every year. So that application process happens in next semester. I usually go into classes in January, and I'll blast that information out to parents as well. But that deadline will be on March 12th. So we'll get all that out come January, share that information with you.
Another plug there, if you guys belong to any organizations or businesses that you think would like to do this, we're always looking to increase. You know, we've had up to $100,000 in scholarships given to our kids before, you know, and varying year to year. And last year there was a lot of people because of COVID that had to back out and stuff like that. So if you think your church, your organization, your business is interested, we are always open to talk to them to help our kids.
Yeah, so if you have somebody that wants to get involved, have them email me, or you can email me, and I'll send them the information packet that we've put together. So I kind of started saying this early, you know, right now their job, the student's job, is to just keep their options open. And then once you have clarity come winter, spring about what financial aid is going to come through, then you can make your decisions. You know, your student might apply to UC Santa Barbara, and they might apply to community college locally, or you know, at Cuesta if they want to be at the coast. So they might do these various applications. We see what financial aid comes through, what grants they get, what scholarships they get, what the college can offer them, and then you can make a final decision. And that final decision might be community college because you know it's going to be free, right? But right now, if they don't do those applications, then those doors are just going to close. So we encourage them to keep the options open so that then they can see in the spring what's available. I just wanted to share one of these scholarship websites so you could see kind of the process that a student would go through. So this site, Going Merry, it's a fairly new site, and I really like it because what they do is they try to bundle the scholarship. So if a student does an essay, they can use that essay for multiple scholarships, or if they fill out all their information, they'll autofill that information for them when they go to apply to specific scholarships. So it's more straightforward, it's easier for them, I think. They have an app as well as being able to work on it on the computer. So they go through, they set up a profile, it starts asking these different questions. And if they dig down and really answer all the profile questions, which include things like extracurriculars, family, background, income, ethnicity, like that, special circumstances, what, you know, awards, honors they've been involved with, then it will really drill down to give them a match for the scholarships that they can apply to. And they can go through, and for example, I went in like as a fake student here, and I didn't even do the full profile, and it matched me up to 125 scholarships. Then they have their page here where they can decide on which ones they're gonna favorite, so they can go back to them and then just go through and start applying. So it's pretty structured. It gives them the timeline of when things due. They send out a list regularly, like these are the scholarships that are whose deadlines are in October. As at the beginning of each month, they'll send an email out like that. So this is a site that we're definitely trying to use this year across grade levels. That's what I got. If we have any other questions, we can go to questions.
Yeah, so actually, I think it's been pretty good. So just moving forward, so we will be touching base, and in the chance that we continue to be in distance learning, our MO for seniors is basically to keep them informed, but also to keep you informed. We know that they are seniors; it's on them. They're making a lot of decisions, but we want you to keep you folks in the loop too. So we're going to try to feed in. Hey, thanks, guys. We're going to try to feed into that website as much as possible. I'm really excited about that one-stop shop. In general, if it has to do with SLE, senior advancement, graduation itself, senior events, things like that, you would go to me. If it has to do with anything to do with like in classes, making sure they're up to speed, transcripts, college applications, things like that, Miss V's the go-to. If it has to do with anything related to technology and things on that end, Mr. Wilson would be the one to go to. But we want you guys to feel free to reach out at any time with your questions. We're eager to communicate with you guys and make sure that we're all on the same page. So I hope that at some point we'll be seeing you all in person, and we'll be celebrating and kind of moving forward. So anyways, there are a few questions here. That is our formal program. So if you guys feel like you've had everything answered, we're going to answer a couple of these. So feel free. You're not going to be rude. I don't even know if you are jumping off. I see the number going down. Don't feel bad. But I wanted to answer a few here. So if students have taken college courses, do they need to reapply to Fresno or to City College? And Ms. V is typing an answer, but did you want to give a verbal
Sure.
on that?
Yeah, I'm going through. Yeah. So basically, they do have to apply as a high school graduate. It's a same application, but they're applying officially as a college student. They will need to do that. They're probably a pro at it if they've had to do it every semester for dual enrollment classes.
Yeah. And one last thing that I always kind of bring up that thanks for all the positive feedback, everybody. Another thing is in college applications, always consider if your student really knows what their program of study is and what their bachelor's degree is going to be in a major, they can apply under that. But a lot of times you got to look at which schools are being impacted with certain majors. So if your student doesn't know, sometimes the odds are in the favor of going in as an undeclared versus specifically in one of the colleges at that college. So just consider all those things as you're doing these college applications. But I think that's it. Thanks for all the positive feedback. We'll keep in touch. Everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.